Welcome to the first video of the Critical Reading Bootcamp. In this intro video, I just want to give you a basic overview of what the bootcamp is going to cover and how it's going to help you improve your critical reading score. So the first thing I want to cover are just some of the highlights of what this series is going to cover throughout the 60 videos. So you're going to learn things like what the fatal mistake is that students make when they're reading, what you must do with your pencil in order to be successful on the critical reading section, the core strategy for both sentence completions and the passages, what vocab to study, if it's even worth it to study vocab in the first place, and I'm going to talk about that in the series specifically. Next, how to unpack single and dual sentence completion questions, not only to increase your speed and to be more accurate, but even to maximize your vocab base. Everybody's got a vocabulary base. There is a way we can maximize what we do know. Next, I'm going to focus very much on how to read SAT style, including the absolutely critical ingredient for understanding the argument of a passage. So I literally have videos on how to read, really getting to the depth, not like elementary school, this is how you put words together, but how do you read something and make sense of it? That's what I go into depth on in this series. I answer the question, do you read the passage first or do you go to the questions first? The answer is actually neither. I go an in-depth breakdown of all the question types and in particular the two main categories of questions, function and detail. If you done a section, you've been stuck between two choices many times. So I discuss how we learn to choose correctly when we're in those situations. We talk about 8 sentence completion and 13 passage trap answers. So the answers you're going to see again and again and again that are put there specifically just to trick you. And finally, I'm going to work through over 20 real SAT passages, and I work through those in real time. And this should be by me in real time. So that's just a basic overview of what I cover in the series, and we'll go into more depth, obviously, in the future videos. So the next thing I want to discuss is why does the Critical Reading Bootcamp work? Why do I think it's effective in raising your scores? Most of the time when you're learning how to do critical reading, you're doing a course or some kind of prep book, so an SAT prep book. And the problem with anything that's visual, or I should say it's literary, that's with words, when you're reading, it's hard to learn how to read by reading, right? There's a paradox there. There's an issue there. You can't learn by reading. You can't learn to read by reading. So in this series, what we do is we walk through, with me walking you through it, in video, in real time, how you break down these passages. So it's a different way of learning these topics. And in general, you'll see that prep books don't really give much attention to the critical reading section at all, especially compared to the math and the writing. And the main reason is it's just hard to teach this. It's very hard. Prep companies and prep books are still struggle to figure out how to teach this. And I think one of the issues, besides the fact that the section is very hard, is it's just hard to teach reading by reading. Okay, so how do you improve on critical reading? How will this bootcamp be part of your reading practice and improving on it? So the critical reading is not going to be about content. If you have seen my other bootcamps, the math bootcamp and the grammar bootcamp, that was about content. What rules do you know? What facts do you know? This is nothing like that, right? There's no facts or rules or anything you need to know for the critical reading. That's outside knowledge. Critical reading is a skill. So what we're going to focus on is building that skill of reading that you need to do well in this section. And it's a skill that you can't memorize. You got to build into yourself. And the only way you can do it, besides obviously watching the videos and listening to what I'm saying and putting it to practice, is to indeed practice, practice, practice. Practice is going to be key. If you just watch these videos and that's all you do, I guarantee you're probably not going to improve that much, if at all. We'll talk more about practice in a future video. But for now, let me give you the setup of videos. The first series of videos are your introduction videos. That's where I basically go through what the critical reading section is, why it's hard, how we approach it, things like that. The second set of video are the sentence completions videos, so the strategies, techniques, trap answers, question types, and a bunch of examples of real sentence completion questions that I've done. And then finally, you've got your passage-based reading. And this is where really the meat of the bootcamp is in, where we go through strategies, how to read, how to approach the sections, how to answer the questions, question types, traps, all these kinds of issues. And then, as I said before, I go through a bunch of passages so you can see it working in real time. Finally, to finish this video, I just want to give you a basic breakdown of what is on the critical reading section. So remember, there's 3 critical reading sections. You've got a 25-minute 24-question section, another 25-minute 24-question section, and then a 20-minute 19-question section. And then remember, you could have maybe an experimental section, which is another reading. Your experimental section is your 10th section. It's either math, reading, or writing. It could be a reading. So it could be possible on your SAT to have 4. All right, let's move on to the next video.